While our attention is often pulled towards major global conflicts, sometimes the biggest shifts happen quietly, almost under the radar. And right now, a massive, totally unexpected energy reversal is taking place. We're going to dive into why India is suddenly buying up Russian oil at a pace that has frankly left a lot of people scratching their heads.
So what's the deal here? After months of kind of slowing down its purchases, what flipped the switch for India? Are we looking at some kind of brilliant strategic play, or is this a huge gamble in a very high-stakes geopolitical chess match?
And to get a sense of just how big this is, look at this number. We could be talking about a 53% jump in a single month. That is a staggering figure, and it tells you that something major is going on here.
Okay, let's break down this reversal. The whole thing kicked off in March of 2026, and it was a genuine shocker because for months, all the signs were pointing in the exact opposite direction. Seriously, most analysts thought India was beginning to pull back.
But to really get why this March surge is such a big deal, you have to look at what was happening right before it, a period where things were noticeably quiet.
So before March, there was this 2-month lull. If you look at the numbers from the start of 2026, it really seemed like the pressure from the West was starting to work. You see, imports dropped from about 1.21 million barrels a day in December down to a steady 1.05 million for both January and February. That consistent dip is exactly what made the sudden U-turn in March so jarring.
And there were some pretty clear reasons for this slowdown. The U.S. was definitely leaning on New Delhi to cut back. Plus, you had all the shipping chaos from conflict in West Asia, which was making freight costs just skyrocket. For a minute there, it really looked like the India-Russia oil honeymoon might be over. But then, March happened.
So let's get to the surge itself. We need to look at the hard data, because this is where the entire narrative just flips on its head. The latest vessel tracking info for March caught pretty much everyone by surprise.
The data shows that India's imports of Russian crude by sea are on track to hit around 1.61 million barrels per day. Now, to be clear, that's the highest number we've seen in at least 3 months, and it completely wipes out that downward trend we were just talking about.
But wait, because that 1.61 million barrels a day, that might just be the starting point. Some of the predictive models are suggesting the final tally could be even more dramatic.
And here's where it gets really wild. Some models are forecasting that if this pace keeps up, the number could climb all the way to 1.88 million barrels per day. That is just an absolutely massive amount of oil.
So you have to ask, who's actually buying all this stuff? Well, it isn't just one company. It's really a coordinated push by the biggest names in Indian refining, what some people are calling the Big Four.
All right, let's break down who the major players are. You've got the state-run Indian Oil Corporation, or IOCL, leading the pack with a huge 8 million barrels. Then comes private refiner Reliance, snagging 6 million, followed by the Russian-backed Nayara Energy at 5 million, and finally BPCL with 4 million. These 4 are the real engines driving this whole thing. And when you add it all up, the total volume is just mind-boggling. To give you some perspective, by March 18th, so just over halfway through the month, India had already taken in nearly 30 million barrels of Russian crude. That speaks volumes about the demand and the logistics involved.
So all this data brings us to the big debate. Why? Why is this happening now? Is this a calculated, strategic decision by India to go all in on Russian oil again, or is it just a fluke, a weird logistical hiccup caused by everything else going on in the world?
Well, there are basically 2 main theories floating around. The first one is that this is strategic. The idea is that Indian refiners saw an opportunity to get oil at a deeper discount, which means bigger profits for them, simple economics. The second theory is that it's just a logistical traffic jam, that a bunch of delayed oil tankers held up by the chaos in West Asia all just happened to arrive at the same time. The truth? It's probably a bit of both, but the sheer scale of the buying really suggests this was a deliberate move.
And through all of this, what is India saying? Well, their public stance has been incredibly consistent. This quote really sums it up. New Delhi has argued time and time again that its own energy security and its right as a sovereign nation to buy what it needs, well, that just comes before any geopolitical pressure from anyone.
And really, that's the key takeaway here. Whatever the reason for this sudden surge in March, what's undeniable is that India has now cemented its position as Russia's single most important oil customer. It proves that this economic partnership is not one they're planning to walk away from easily.
Which leaves us all with a final, really thorny question, and it's at the heart of this entire situation. In a world that is so interconnected and so politically charged, is a nation's need to secure its own energy a sovereign right that trumps everything else? That's the tough dilemma that not just India, but nations all over the globe are grappling